the art of boxing, the skills of boxing. It's not about trying to knock somebody out, like. It's about trying to win. It's like a game of chess. It's trying to win by the skill factor. How better your ability is to, to jab, to cross, hook, slips, all of that then. And that most magnificent skill then, like when you get an excellent defense mechanism and when you have all the skills as how to attack, feinting, etc., teasing, all of that. And it's about planning every attack. And it's all about, again, having that little gift to give him, like to see where you can have, where. And there's some amazing clubs, like, I trained 10, 12 senior football teams, men and women. 8 of them have won senior championships. Wow. It's just hard to describe her, You just couldn't write enough on the board about Katie Taylor.
Yeah.
Because, what you see is what you see.
Yeah.
That's who she is. There's one thing that I'm certain of, is that my mother should have been the first Katie Taylor,
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's impressive.
Well, do you remember I said earlier, the trick with all of this is knowing how to win, And that can be in life. You have to find the solution, like. You have to find a way around the difficulty.
Wow.
You just have to persevere with it, like. And you have to engage with people who can give you wise counsel. And it becomes a concerted effort.
Welcome today, and we we are going to talk about your journey, who you are, and we're just going to dive into your history. And I just want you to tell everybody, what can you tell us about you, your upbringing, who you are, and as a person, in none other than just the famous Pat Ryan, the boxing lead champion. Yeah.
I suppose to start with, I would have joined the Portlaoise Boxing Club in 1965.
Yeah.
I was born and reared in Marion Place, now known as Marion Avenue. It was in the year 1954 that the place was built.
Yeah.
And we always have a very good, proud of our place of birth, where we live, how we grow up, and so many 88 houses, and so many, maybe 15, 20 people around my age all grew up in the one area, and we went everywhere together,
Yeah.
But I suppose Paddy Hasper Farr was the first person that would have suggested that we go and join the Portlaoise Boxing Club. And Paddy was a famous hurling coach and football coach. And he trained Laois to an All-Ireland in 1949.
Oh, wow.
So he would always be very well intended and always saying, like, boys, you should be all down in the boxing club, and we eventually went down to the guard station where the boxing club was at the back of it. And of course, that time sessions were done at 4 o'clock and 7:30. So we went down at the 4 o'clock and we just couldn't get in.
Oh, wow.
We weren't allowed in, because we were too young and 8, 9 years of age. And so eventually Mr. Blackwell, of course, he used to be playing games with us as well, and he eventually brought us in. We had to sit on the stool and do what we were told. And that was always a difficult time for us. But anyway, eventually then we started to box, at 11 years of age, and myself and Pat Rogers, we had a fella called Joe Campbell. Joe used to coach us every in the afternoons at 4 o'clock, like, gived up his time. And Charlie Clark was another one, you know. Charlie was only a few doors from where I live now on the Abelix Road. And there was four of his brothers, like, and I think 3 of them boxed professionally in England thereafter, you know.
Yeah.
But he gifted his time to me, Paddy Hasperfar, Joe Campbell, and of course Mr. Blackwell himself. Like, you know, he was phenomenal, really, like in the sport of boxing. And he started the club in 1930.
Okay. Wow.
And he came from India. Yeah, he was the son of British parents who were in the army in India. And he came to Athlone Town in 1911 with his sister Edith.
Okay.
And he eventually ended up playing soccer for Athlone Town. And then he went on to play rugby for Blackrock. And of course he boxed with on Garda Síochána. And he was probably one of the first Church of Ireland members of An Garda Síochána.
Yeah.
So he would have been identified as the right stamp of a lad to uphold the law.
Okay.
After the 1922 Civil War in this country, where the country was in turmoil, really. And you needed people like that, and he was the right stamp of a lad, you know. And he did uphold the law throughout, you know, and he became a remarkable man, reared a remarkable family as well, you know, and gifted his whole life to Portlaoise Boxing Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about that journey. So when you talk about that influence and that how you were brought into it, but tell me a little bit about home at those days, because was boxing something that was fashionable, or how was your family, how was your upbringing in terms of bringing the boxing? Were they in favor of that, or even apart from the boxing, how was it like to grow up in Ireland and in those days and sport?
We really had football, hurling and boxing.
Okay.
At that time, you know, and the boxing club, we trained in the boxing club Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
Friday and Sunday morning. And there's one thing that I'm certain of, is that my mother should have been the first Katie Taylor, you know.
Oh wow, yeah. That's impressive.
Because she was an amazing woman, you know.
Okay.
But she adored Mr. Blackwell. Absolutely, like, I mean, whatever he said, like, was gospel.
Okay.
And there was no discussion, you know.
Yeah.
And I suppose in those times, like, she knew, like, where we were at those times. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And he was the right kind of a leader, the right kind of a person, like, you know, to run any organisation, any club.
Yeah.
And he did run it very, very well, you know. And we had some other great people as well, like, who supported him with his endeavour, like, you know. And Jim Gannon, like Gannon's chemist downtown. You see his photograph up here. He was the first treasurer of the Portlaoise Boxing Club, and the next thing, then his son took over that role after. Then he was another chemist down in Portlaoise.
Yeah, yeah.
Cha Egan, then, who was Egan's Hostillery, like, you know, all those people were all very well intended, like, in supporting the Portlaoise Boxing Club over many, many, many years, you know. But I suppose for me, like, we got a great opportunity, like, you know. Portlaoise Boxing Club was always a very, very, very good club, very well run, good coaches, you know, and most of us were all very successful throughout those years, you know.
Yeah.
And it gave us an opportunity to travel. In those times, we'd say we were traveling around Ireland, you know.
Yeah.
But now the Portlaoise Boxing Club is traveling all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Right,
which is amazing. Amazing, you know. But yes, I suppose it was a great way of raising a child.
Okay.
because, you know, the parents knew exactly where we were, what time we were supposed to be there and what time we were supposed to be coming home at, you know. And everybody was very supportive of the club, like, and still is to this day.
Yeah.
We have a magnificent support, like, from the town and the wider community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I'm going to bring, we're going to talk a little bit about boxing in a few minutes, but I want to know, like, in terms of, I arrived in Ireland 24 years ago, right? So, and I know, for example, that the number one thing I heard was Gaelic, right? And boxing, I never picture Ireland and boxing, right? So we you alluded a little bit about how you're now worldwide known, and the impact. Which, I mean, you tell me in a little minute about the people that has passed through the Portlaoise Boxing Club. But I'm curious. Growing up, apart from the fact that your parents, it created discipline. So how, in general, was the boxing in those days accepted in nationwide in Ireland? Is this something that you felt? The people you saw, people embracing it, or was it just a local-ish impact?
Well, I would say like that. Boxing was, for example, we say, I can show you a collage from a player's navy cut,
Yeah.
who sponsored the national teams that time, you know,
Okay.
and that was around the 1930s.
Wow.
And the collage is on the wall over there. It's the only, it's unique, like, it's the only one of its kind. But all those champions that we had, and Mr. Blackwell was one of those.
Okay.
He's in the collage. He was in the player's navy cut cigarette box.
Oh, wow.
A photograph of him and a photograph of all these national champions,
Yeah.
you know. And when you think back on it, you know, how well they were revered, you know. And so all the descriptions of the catch, the block, the parry, the slips, and all that, the skills of boxing, like, were all described in the collage.
Yeah.
And all the people that were in those cigarette boxes were all there, all named.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you look at that then, and you look at the sport of boxing is a manly game, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of traits and characteristics, like, that one would have to have before they become a boxer.
Okay.
You know. And as I said, like, Ireland have always been very, very successful throughout the 30s, 40s, 50s, you know.
Yeah.
And it is now the #1 Olympic sport in this country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it has achieved. And that is phenomenal, really. Like, but if you make a comparison between the GAA and the like, one time there would be boxing clubs in Portlaoise, Mount Mellick, Clonaslee, Portlaoise, Aberleaks, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But now we have maybe 2 or 3 clubs, like, in the county, you know.
Okay.
Which is very disappointing, like, in a sense, because the GAA has been successful because there is a club in every village and town in Ireland.
Okay.
Which is a phenomenal achievement, like, and it's probably one of the greatest amateur organizations in the world. And that's what they achieved.
Yeah.
But we need to go back and revisit all of that as well. But that's for another
day. Yeah.
another day.
Yeah. And bring me to yourself, to your childhood, and what's like to grow up in Portlaoise. What was Portlaoise like? The influence of your family. So bring me a little bit more into your journey of that. We see your journey as the influence of how you got into boxing, but how was it like Portlaoise here? You know, Portlaoise is now 26,000 people?
About 26,000 people now, I'd say. And I suppose I was able to walk down the main street when I was maybe 12, 11, 12, 13. and I could name every person living on the street.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And the reason for all of that too was because my grandfather lived in Bridge Street, like where my mother was born and reared.
Oh, yeah.
And he was able to tell me who was in all these houses. And the funny thing about this was we used to have bets then to see who would be able to name the most people on the street. And of course the boys didn't realise like that I had all that information, you know. And I won most of the Clipso bars of chocolate, like the big bags of sweet, the big bags of Clipso.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. But no, there was a great, I mean, Portlaoise is, you know, it's an amazing town, you know, and sport is you know, we're so successful, like in the football, in the hurling, in the boxing, and now the basketball, the Panthers, like, you know, are really, you know,
Doing well, yeah. I heard.
doing
Yeah.
extremely well, you know, and it's great that there's so many different levels of sport, different categories, you know, to cater for all the youngsters that are living in the town at this point in time, you know.
Yeah.
But the sport of boxing, I have to say, like, is a very demanding. It's extremely demanding, you know, and we could say that while it's the #1 Olympic sport, you'd have to say, are we really getting the support financially
That you need.
that we need?
Yeah. Is this a priority?
Yes, to develop the sport further.
Yeah.
And I would say not.
Oh, okay.
I would say not, you know, because sometimes it's hard to measure, you know, to try and keep this club going here. Like, you know, this club could have possibly have closed 10 or 12 times, I'd say, during my time running it, because of the difficulties in trying to, we were very nomadic after losing the premises at the Garda Síochána station, you know. And we were moving from hall to hall and place to place, and it was extremely difficult, you know. But we stuck with it, and now we have an amazing facility here.
Yeah.
You know, with 4 international rings, nearly 40 bags hanging here. We have a dormitory, a kitchen, a school. So it's all moving in the right direction for me, from my perspective anyway.
Yeah. And tell me about the people, you know, Katie Taylor, what's up with that? Like, this is amazing. Tell me your journey and like the people that have passed through here that have been successful that we can talk about right now, because like, I mean, it's amazing to know that you coach her, right? So
yes, well, what happened was Gary Keegan was the high performance director at that time, you know, and I was with the national teams at youth level and senior level, and Gary asked me, you know, would I consider being with Katie Taylor? You know, at the time she was young and very, very talented, and her father Pete, and myself and Pete then struck up a very good friendship.
Yeah.
To this day, and he's an exceptional guy, and Katie is one of those. It's just hard to describe her, you know. You just couldn't write enough on the board about Katie Taylor.
Yeah.
Because, you know, what you see is what you see.
Yeah.
That's who she is, and she's a wonderful person. Wonderful person.
And was it like coaching her, working with her? Was he tough? Was he?
No. We were very, look, both of us were very, very mature.
Okay.
But, you know, both of us had huge experience, like, in how to bring a child to a man.
Okay.
Or a girl to a woman, you know. And all of those different cycles and phases, like, you have to be seriously patient, you know. But you need to know what you're doing, you know. And I have to say, Pete and I was a great relationship. Yeah. It's a great pairing. And of course the subject then, Katie, was amazing. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. So when we talk about Katie, you also worked with TJ Doheny?
TJ Doheny, of course. Yeah. TJ, we call TJ the baddie.
Okay.
And I suppose it was very hard to get him a fight.
Okay.
Initially, because he was so light,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But TJ was one of those rare boys as well, you know. He was a very good soccer player. He was a very good hurler. And boxing, then he chose boxing, and I have to say, like, he won numerous All-Ireland titles with me.
Yeah.
He should have possibly have gone to the Olympics. He lost in the senior final with John Joe Nevin.
Okay.
John Joe went on to become an Olympic silver medalist.
Yeah.
But TJ went on to become a world champion in 2018
Okay.
in Japan,
Yeah.
which was an amazing feat. Like, for him, like, he went to Australia, and really and truly, like, you know, he got nothing easy.
Yeah.
You know, he got nothing easy. And his mother, Gillian, like, was an amazing woman, you know, and she gifted him everything,
Yeah.
you know.
So what would you say about your learning experience in working with different champion and aspiring champions, and what is the thing that you will say that is key to those journey that you took with them? What are the learnings that you can bring to the table so let's say you start from scratch with someone to the finishing line. What are the things that you've learned about yourself and also about those champions?
I suppose for me, the biggest, from my perspective, is having gained that knowledge over so many years, you know.
Yeah.
Getting the experience of going away on international duty, like, and working with the various categories,
Okay.
working with people from all walks of life.
Okay.
And I think the biggest thing for me was to develop the people craft, to understand, you know, how to coach, how to treat people, how to manage people, because it's not boxers that we coach, it's the people, it's the person, you know.
Okay.
And I think that going on that journey, like, I mean, we've been all over the world. We've had boxers from the club here all over the world, you know. I don't know how many different continents, like, we've been away to. And all of that then is just been pooled back into a pot where we get an opportunity then to use it in a different manner.
Okay.
Going forward for the next boxer, the next person, you know.
Yeah.
And we've been successful in 180 national champions.
Okay.
We
Wow.
have had 16 European medals at juvenile, youth and senior elite.
Yeah.
Gold, silver and bronze. And we have 4 world-class boxers from being a child to a man.
Yeah. So I know 2. Who are the other 2? So
The other 2
KP
then.
and TJ and
Then we have Michael Nevin. Like,
Okay.
Michael Nevin will be back boxing next month, and Michael is 3 times European gold medalist.
Okay.
He has about 14 national titles.
Impressive.
Yeah, and he's a world bronze medalist.
Mr. Ryan that's the big guy.
No, I have great people with me, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I have great people with me, you know. And the other guy then was Michael O'Reilly. Michael O'Reilly went on to win a European gold medal with Katie in Baku. And he was a phenomenal talent. And he made a mistake, failed an anti-doping
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was so unfortunate, like, for everybody concerned, and especially for him and his family, you know. But that's the consequence were, like, that he failed it, and he was banned from boxing. And I have no doubt, like, that he would have been coming home minimum silver medal from those Olympics, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these are things that happens in life, and you can call it careless, reckless, you know, stupid, silly, whatever you want, you know. But at the end of the day, like, he has to live with that for the rest of his life, and we always have to try and help where we can, you know. We can't go on forever, like, about this, he shouldn't have done this. And
They should have been yeah, it's just to find the way forward, right?
way forward, absolutely.
So we just mentioned success stories, okay? And we also talk about the boxing and the journey and the success story of Portlaoise and the island and all that. But I'm kind of still under the impression that the majority of people see boxing as a violent thing, right? So if you can tell me a little bit about the science of boxing, the origin, and what does it represent? Is it the depth of what boxing is, right? So is it, because people get scared. Like I know some of course the boys or girls would be interested, but if you want to bring them in, how do you describe boxing in a way that makes it more appealing? The discipline behind it and everything.
Well, first, I suppose I have to separate the sport of boxing in two categories.
Okay.
One is professional boxing, which is a business.
Okay.
And amateur boxing, is a sport. And there are two very, very definitive sets of rules for both. And if you were to compare professional boxing, it's another world. It's a different sport. But if you were to compare amateur boxing and what their endeavor is to promote the sweet science, the art of boxing, the skills of boxing. It's not about trying to knock somebody out, It's about trying to win. It's like a game of chess. It's trying to win by the skill factor, how better your ability is to, to jab, to cross, hook, slips, all of that then. And that most magnificent skill then, when you get an excellent defense mechanism, and when you have all the skills as how to attack, feinting, etc., teasing, all of that, and it's about planning every attack, every 7 to 9 seconds.
Okay.
You're trying to make this plan, and you're trying to get them to use their intellect.
Okay.
To win the game.
There's some level of discipline. There's some level of focus, right?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, all the components of fitness have to be addressed.
Okay.
And they all have to be trained, and they are all trainable. Understanding, getting boxers to understand the principles of training, components of fitness, and the energy system that all of that coming together brings to the boxer, to box over 3 3s or box over 3 2s or whatever, And it's a whole new dimension, but it's not about trying to stop people boxing. It's not about trying to hurt people. The gloves now are 10-ounce and 12-ounce gloves. When I boxed, the gloves were 6-ounce horsehair.
Wow.
And when they got wet and hard, they were very, very difficult to use. But now it's about the safety of the boxer.
Yeah.
The referee are charged to their priority is the boxers in the ring to ensure that they are safe in every regard,
Okay.
The computer then brings in a points system, and the target, you have to hit the target often, and you have to hit it with a certain amount of force. So when you look at the skills now of boxing as against professional boxing, they're worlds apart. The amateur boxer is better prepared this day because now we have what we call high performance.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the unit that takes charge of all our elite boxers, men and women.
Yeah.
And they are all professional, and they all endeavor to gift their time in the best possible manner.
Yeah.
So that the boxers can be the best prepared to give the best performances at international level.
Okay. Yeah. So the myth of violence and scary is more the lack of knowledge of whatever is being done behind to enable some level of safety, right? Because I grew up knowing the likes of Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, and I saw the blood coming out of them. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what you're saying to me is that as time it had evolved and it's now a little bit safer and it's more about discipline.